Hi, this is Matt with AppliancePartsPros.com. Today we'll be showing you how to repair your appliance. Remember, anytime you work on an appliance, make sure it's unplugged or the circuit breakers are off so there's no chance of electrocution. In this video, we're going to show you how to change out the Whirlpool washer basket drive block kit. It's going to be a very easy repair and should only take a few minutes to show you how to do it. If you already have one of these, great. If not, you can click on the link below or get it at AppliancePartsPros.com. When you open up the package, you're going to get the instruction sheets, 2 wire harness holders, 6 screws, and the new drive block assembly. The basket drive block connects the inner basket to the drive shaft. The main reason you'll be changing it out is if the splines are damaged and the inner basket's not being driven. In order to get to the part, we have to open up the washer lid. Now that we have the lid open, we can reach in and remove the cap, the small flathead screwdriver. All you have to do is stick the screwdriver into the slot right here. You can turn it a little bit to break it free. You can lift the cap out, set it aside. Once you have the cap off, we're going to use a ratchet with an extension and a 7/16 inch socket. We're just going to reach in and loosen the bolt up. If you have to, you might have to reach in and hold the wash plate so you can break the bolt free. Once you have the bolt out of the threads, you can reach down and pull it out of the tub. Now that we have the bolt out, we can reach down and grab the wash plate and lift up on it. You may have to wiggle it a little bit while you're lifting up on it. Once you have it free of the shaft, you can pull it out of the tub. Now that we have the wash plate out of the way, we have access to the hub nut assembly down here. You want to clean all this area up and clean out the screws and put some penetrating oil in here. You want to try to get these free. You don't want to strip out a thread on the tub, because if you damage this inner tub, you're going to have to replace it. Now that we have the screws soaking in the penetrating oil, we can take the nut off. If you don't have the spanner wrench, you can use a hammer and a screwdriver to tap on these little notches to get it to break free. We're going to use the spanner wrench and a plastic hammer to break the nut free. You're going to have to hold the tub and the wrench while you're loosening this up so it doesn't spin. Once you have the nut free, you can just reach down, take it off by hand. Now that we have the nut off, we're going to put some towels down around the outer edge of the inner tub. We want to make sure you cover up those holes so we don't drop anything down in them. If something goes down in the tub, you're going to have to take the whole tub apart and get it out. Now that we have the holes covered up, we're going to use a big Phillips screwdriver to take out these 4 screws. You want to be careful taking these out. Don't use a power tool. You don't want to take the chance of stripping out a hole in the inner tub. If you do that, you would have to replace it. So we're going to grab onto the tub and break these free and take them out. To take the last 2 screws out, we're going to reach in and not only hold the tub from moving back and forth, we're going to have to hold it from falling, because as we take the last 2 screws out, it's going to settle down and we don't want to take a chance of stripping out any of the screw holes. Now that we have all the screws out, if the drive block is stuck in there, we're going to take some penetrating oil and let it soak in here, and maybe get some around the edges to try to break everything free. Once you have it soaked down, you can take a putty knife and try to get underneath there. There's probably going to be a lot of dirt and built up underneath there, so just try to clean it all out. Once you have it all cleaned up, we're going to take a flathead screwdriver and see if we can pop it off. You just want to carefully get underneath the flange here with the flathead screwdriver and work your way around until you break it free. Once you have it free, you can lift up on it. Once you have the flange off, we can reach in and get the drive block off. We're just going to do the same thing with the flathead screwdriver. Just kind of get underneath it and try to loosen it up. If your drive block is stuck on there, you can add some more penetrating oil down in this area. This is where the splines go onto the shaft. So you want to soak that down and let it sit for a minute. If your drive block is really corroded onto the splines and you can't get it off like ours, no matter what we did, we couldn't pry it up enough to break it free so it would come off. We're going to take a chisel and carefully crack it so we can get it off the splines. You want to be careful again that you don't damage the inner tub. So you just want to take a chisel and a hammer and carefully try to crack it in half. Once you have the drive block broken in half, you can grab the pieces and pull them out. We're going to have to get a wire brush and clean all these splines up so we can put the new drive block on. Now that we have the splines cleaned up, we're going to grab the towels and carefully pull them out. And we're going to clean up this area and vacuum out any of the big pieces. Once you have it cleaned up, we can put the new part in. Here's the old basket drive block next to the new basket drive block kit. If you already have one of these, great. If not, you can get it at appliancepartspros.com. They do include the instruction sheets that you can look over. It also comes with 2 wire harness ties and the instructions for those. Those are used if you're changing out the drive assembly. We're not doing that, so we're not going to use those. Now we can put the drive block in. You want to line it up with the splines and push it down. You want to make sure it goes all the way down, so these little tabs sit all the way down on the metal lip of the drive shaft. Once you have that in, we can put the hub on. We're just going to line it up. Before we put the screws back in, we're going to put the towels back in to make sure we don't drop any of the screws down the openings. Once you have the towels in, we're going to look at the screw holes. The screws are going to go in the recessed area, so you want to look through and make sure that the screw holes in the inner tub are lined up. If they're not, you may have to spin this until you get them to line up so the screws will go in straight. We're going to lift up on the tub. We have to raise it up so we can put the screws into the holes without stripping them out. You don't want to try to lift the tub up with the screws. We're going to use our big Phillips screwdriver to put all the screws in. We're going to do 2 cross ones first, so that holds the tub while we put in the other 4. Once you have that one started, we're going to put in the second one so it can be moved and lined up. You don't want to tighten the first one down right away. Same as when we took these out, you don't want to use any power tools to put these back in. Once you have all the screws tightened down, we're going to grab the edge of the tub again and just make sure we tighten them down all the same so they're nice and even and tight. Now that we have all the screws tightened down, we can reach in and pull the towels out. Now that we have the towels out, we're going to make sure that the hub didn't move. Sometimes when you lift up on the tub, these little tabs come off the drive shaft flange. So what we're going to do is take a hammer and kind of tap all the way around to make sure that this is seated properly. And then at the top of the tub, you want to make sure that from the top of the tub to the splash shield, there's about a 1/2 inch of space. Once you're sure that everything is correct and seated good, you want to go around and retighten all the screws to make sure they're tightened down good. Once you have all the screws tightened down, we can put the spanner nut on. To put the spanner nut on, we're going to get it started on the drive block. It's a regular thread, so we're going to go clockwise to tighten it down. Once you have it started, you may have to hold the tub again, but we're going to tighten it down until it contacts the base. Now that we have the spanner nut tightened down, we're going to take the wrench and pound it with a hammer. We're going to go from here 3/4 of a turn around to tighten it down. Now it's going to be kind of hard to hold everything and hit the wrench, so you might have to take your arms and hold the side of the tub so it doesn't spin. If you can't do this, you might grab somebody and have them hold the tub. Once you have it tightened down, you can reach in and pull the spanner wrench off, and we can put the wash plate back in. To put it in, we're just going to carefully set it down on the shaft, make sure that the splines line up. Once you have it on there, you can push it all the way down, and then we can put the bolt on. Before we put the bolt in, we noticed when we took it out that there was a little bit of thread locker on it. So we're going to take some blue thread locker and put a little bit on so it doesn't come out with the vibrations. Once you have the threads coated, you can put it down into place. Once you have the bolt in, we can use our ratchet with the extension and the 7/16 inch socket to tighten it down. Once it starts to get tight, you're going to have to reach down and hold the wash plate so we can tighten it up. To put the cap back on, you want to make sure that the little notch for the screwdriver is lined up with one of the ribs so it snaps on and locks correctly. Now that we have the new part installed, we can close the washer lid, plug it back in. Before the machine is ready, we have to go through the calibration mode. In order to do that, we have to get it into diagnostic mode. So you want to make sure that you hit the power button since you just plugged it in. Hit the power button and turn everything off. And then we're going to turn the control knob. We're going to go 1 or 2 clicks to the left, and then 3 to the right, and then 1 to the left, and 1 back to the right. You have to do this fairly quick. You have a 1/2 second per click. If you take too long, it won't go into the diagnostic mode. So we're going to go to the left first. 1, 2, back to the right, 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 left, and right. Once you have it in diagnostic mode, all these lights down here should be flashing. If they're not flashing, you may not have turned the timer dial fast enough, so you may have to do it again. We're going to turn the knob again so we get just the rinse light lit up. Once you have that lit up, we can hit the start button and run the calibration mode. Once the calibration cycle is done, your washer should be ready to go. Thanks for joining us for another successful repair brought to you by AppliancePartsPros.com. Check out our other repair videos on our site, Facebook, and YouTube.